Welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode number 145 of your weekly gaming and Stadia show, where we round up all of the Stadia and video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. Thank you for joining me and my co-host for another wonderful show where we break down all of your July pro games one by one, look about the Google Stadia platform expanding into new territories for the first time in a long time, some new games from Ubisoft and Atari, and a bunch more. But before we do get into all that, do give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the amazing cloud content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games, because there's a lot of it. And we thank you all for your support. We thank you for tuning in and watching along. This week, you're joining myself, Chris, alongside the ever-present, the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hola a todos.
See what you did? Getting prepped for all of our influx of Spanish Stadia players from Mexico coming in. Looking forward to it.
Try and learn one Spanish phrase a week.
One a week?
No, I'm not going to do that. I will
Don't
not
commit.
To that.
We've seen how bad we are when we try and say Merry Christmas in several different languages come the Christmas time of the year. So we won't push our luck, but yes, we'll get into all that. Very juicy. Richie, what have you been playing this week? You did some Wreckfest with Rob?
Yes, Rob jumped in for his first ever Helix Cloud Games stream, Wreckfest, which was awesome to play with the community. Other than that, I still haven't sunk my teeth into a single game since I rolled credits on Arceus yet.
Oh, you're still in that?
You know, when I'm just bouncing around. I've been playing a bit of FIFA. I've actually been playing a bit of Pokemon Omega Ruby.
Okay.
Because but just in patches. So I'm waiting for a game. I'm waiting for a time when I just go, okay, I'm going to go in this game, and then it just sink its teeth into me.
Waiting for it to get you.
I don't know what that game will be, but I've got a list of games I could play. When you go, I don't feel like this right now.
Yeah, it's that commitment problem. We all have that commitment problem when you've got a vast backlog of library games. If anyone in the chat has just started to open up a nice little gem of a game, drop your comments below. Let Richie know what you've played at the moment and see if there's anything that could maybe entice him into playing something. I'm kind of in a similar position, actually. I've been quite busy with work recently, so I've not quite had that luxury of several nights a week to sit down and really invest. I'm still playing a bit of Jurassic World Evolution over on the PlayStation. I have checked out one of the pro games, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but not too much. I've been distracted with other adult things, unfortunately, which is how sometimes these things go. But always time for something. I did get a platinum trophy in Ape Escape, but that didn't take too long. But we'll talk about that on the other podcast, Richie, because we do a bunch more shows here on the Helix Cloud Games channel. Like you said, we do live streams. We will be playing a pro game this week for your live stream as well, so keep tuned and watch out for that one. Thank you again to everyone's continued support for the rest of the channel. Talking to PS, episode 2 went up with myself, Richie, and Rob. Thank you for checking that one out, the 100 of you who did. We do really appreciate it. And before we get into it all, Richie, our Helix Heroes as well out there, the wonderful folks who support us that little bit extra for as little as 99p, which you can do right now. You can click join if you're watching along on YouTube and support us a little bit more, help you bring you better content, but more importantly, you get early access to CloudQuest. And we had a great show last week, actually. We went a little bit more...
I thought it was a really good show.
It was. Can you remind the people what it was?
We were comparing PlayStation Plus, giving our hands-on first experience with PS Plus since it PS Now merged into PS Plus, and using Stadia as a kind of benchmark. And there was a couple of people actually I was talking to in various Facebook groups and saying, why are you comparing this? I was like, well, I'm using Stadia basically as a benchmark because that is the cloud gaming platform I've had the most experience with, and we know the tech is solid.
Yeah. So
it makes it nice when you're looking at just how's the cloud gaming tech performing. Stadia makes it nice go, this is what you should be at.
Yeah. Did you compare any actual direct games one for one, if I recall?
I did, I think. I can't recall. I'm sure I did. Look,
I'm sure there was one game. Watch the go. Let's both, you and me, both go now and watch the episode back.
But I know we both jumped into things like Ghost of Tsushima, where we've both got significant experience on PS4 and PS5, so we could see how well that ran. It was Wreckfest actually. We did jump into Wreckfest. It
was, but we had some particular issues. Yeah, which ironically is that why we picked Wreckfest for the Stadia stream this week? Perhaps subconsciously.
It might be. As I needed to pick something. It's like, oh yeah, Wreckfest. We haven't played that in a while.
Yeah. And I had some recent frustration on a different cloud platform with it. But go check out the episode. We've got another great week actually ahead for CloudQuest as well. Again, members, you get it. It's live right now. If you join the channel, you can access it on YouTube right now. Richie, we're going to actually go away and talk about Tencent entering the cloud gaming market. There's a couple of stories dropped this week about them partnering with Nvidia, of course, of GeForce Now fame and all the other things. And we're going to go discuss what the hell they're really up to, because it's a massive company, Tencent, and them getting into this cloud gaming market, which we know so well, shaking things up a bit. We knew cloud has always been in its infancy, but I think there's even bigger players who aren't even in the market yet, and I think Tencent is one of the bigger outliers who, maybe alongside Apple, are probably primed, in my opinion, to maybe jump into it at some point. But we'll talk about it.
It's interesting because you get, Tencent have got the fingers in a lot of different pies. They're not traditionally a platform holder, and that seems to be the way things are going. But
it's a great opportunity.
Let's talk about that in CloudQuest.
Yeah, in episode 74. Available now if you're a member. If not, just hang on till Friday.
Now with more clouds.
More clouds. Even more. But, Richie, we've got a great show. As we said, lots of juicy Stadia news, pro games, country expansion, and much, much more. But before we get into all that, you need to give us the rundown with the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka
the news. Loads of news. Cannot wait. Thankfully, at the turn of every month, we get to sit here and list off a bunch of pro games. And this month, folks, Stadia did not disappoint. We have 6 pro titles to get things started with. Kicking things off, video game number 1 for the week, Richie. We suspected this was coming soon. We got an announcement a couple of weeks back. It's been confirmed. It's coming pro. It's actually available to claim now, of course. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, which is the latest installment of the family-friendly horror game, loved by millions, scared millions as well, I'm sure, all over the globe. Plays Gregory, a young boy trapped overnight in Freddy Fazbear's mega pizzaplex. With the help of Freddy Fazbear himself, Gregory must survive the near unstoppable hunt of reimagined Five Nights at Freddy's characters, as well as new and horrific threats. So for those not familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's, it is one of those very basic horror first-person games that kind of took the world by storm a few years back, especially with like Twitch streamers and such. You were, I think the original one, you were just in a control room, taking control of cameras and automatic doors as basically these broken animatronic, you're talking like Disneyland style giant bears and characters slowly encroach on you, and that's kind of evolved the franchise, skyrocketed it to a point where I think everyone knows what it is now. And now you've got a bit more autonomy in this one. You're able to actually walk around first person style and interact a bit more.
Well, one of the things I think this game exploded is because a lot of fan theorists started digging into the lore of the first few games, but then the developer caught wind of that and started kind of expanding the lore, but just putting like little weird details into games for fans to just grab onto and theorize. So it just really exploded in that way. So I think it's a pretty cool way of actually marketing your game, like as a developer, going, you know what, I'm going to lean into the fan theories in a really hard way.
Yeah, I mean, the premise is quite simple. It's essentially, if anyone knows from movies or lives in the States, it's based on like the Chuck E. Cheese kind of like, what would the equivalent be in the UK, like a wacky warehouse?
I don't think
we used to have.
I don't think there really is, because we don't really have like animatronic stuff. Really, do we? I don't think I've ever been to like a kids' play centre where there's animatronics dancing on stage or anything.
However, you did used to work somewhere where one of your colleagues would put on a giant suit of a mouse or something. So
you say colleagues? I did this quite a few times. We've all had crap jobs.
Richie is Freddy Fazbear, folks.
I worked in a kids' play centre as a fry cook for a year in my youth.
Now, we had a wacky warehouse, and we also had a Charlie Chalks. For those in the UK, throwback if you remember that, everyone. Was there someone who dressed up as Charlie Chalk? I can't remember if I'm sure that was like the stuff of nightmares. So
I don't have any strong recollection of either of them. I know they were there. I know I went loads of times. I don't really have a vivid memory though.
It's scary. It's like Teletubbies levels of like scary stuff. But we're going to check that out actually this week on our Thursday or Friday night. We'll lock the date in, but keep it tuned to our socials and you'll find out soon. But we love a good horror game. here on the Helix Cloud Games channel. We had a thrilling time with Resident Evil. This is a different type of horror. A lot of jump scares I'm expecting. So we'll see, but that is one of your first pro games for the month of July. So go claim them if you haven't done so already. And it's nice to see a bit more horror coming to the platform as well. A nice bit of variety. Not only
in the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer. Not only in this particular month, but just in general. And more importantly, another new game coming to the platform. We've kind of bemoaned a little bit the last couple of months about the lack of titles. And that Stadia is actually tracking behind year on year its release schedule. And because they don't talk to us that much with what's coming, it's hard to get that kind of garnered excitement. But within the pro games and the 1st of July this month, we've actually got kind of a couple drop brand new to the platform and free on pro. So if you were thinking about picking them up, you don't have to pay for them now if you've got a pro sub. Moving on, we covered it last week, Richie. A bunch of Atari titles were leaked through a community blog URL post that you could see it in the URL, the description. And that's been confirmed. And one of those titles was, in fact, Centipede Recharge, part of the Atari 50th Anniversary Recharge Collection. Centipede, for those who don't know, either you didn't exist when the game first came out, or you've just not been aware of the Recharge Collection. The original bug-blasting arcade game is back. Centipede Recharged has been reimagined for modern gameplay with vibrant visual design for modern screens and a 16:9 field of play. Dozens of new power-ups can give you an edge by introducing abilities like screen clearing, explosions, railguns, and even slowing down time. Every mode and every level is playable in local co-op with a friend. So, Centipede, I'm seeing really good things about this in the community, more so as it's one of those kind of high score arcade things. So not much to the game, but it creates healthy competition out there with you people.
This is one of them games I kind of think, for me, the ideal Stadia Pro month would be maybe a AAA title that's maybe a year or two old, and a couple of cool smaller titles. This very much falls into the cool smaller title thing. There's a lot of nostalgia for this, and for good reasons. It was a phenomenal game back in the day. I assume I didn't play it. I'm a bit too young, which is weird to talk about.
Say,
I was too young for this game, but I'm glad to see it back, and I'm glad to see it on Stadia. And again, our Discord community seems to be having a good time with it.
Yeah, I'm hearing loads of good things. This is actually one of the ones I jumped in and checked out. And I have played Centipede over the years. I've definitely played it in an arcade cabinet. I've definitely played it in some kind of, those 50 games in one compendium things you get.
I think it's one of them I've definitely played, but at a time probably when I've played things that were significantly better.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I don't think Centipede's ever been the go-to number one title that's been played all year, every year. But as you said, it's a smaller title. It's got that competitive edge to it, and I think it translates quite well across multiple screens because of the nature of what it is. It's not it's not high graphic fidelity. It's literally just a couple of dots, colours, and neon lights moving around a screen. However, I think it can upscale to a TV. It can downscale to a mobile phone without really losing any momentum, which is what you want for a game in the cloud where you can access it on any device. So, Centipede, Recharged, one of the Atari games. We will actually get on to discussing more Atari titles, so we did actually have that blog post drop finally to confirm what we'd reported last week. But there's a couple more strings to that bow, but we'll get into after we finish with the pro games. Next up, Richie, we had Those Who Remain, which again, another one coming day and date to the platform, to pro as well as release. It's been out for a while elsewhere, of course. Those Who Remain places you in an up-close psychological horror story set in the sleepy town of Dormont, a town in a spiralling split from the fabric of reality, warped by darkness and the deeds of the citizens who reside. Confront the uncomfortable horrors reflected by the darkness and survive the night of Dormont as Edward, as he's confronted with a test of his sanity, morality, and the shadows of evil that lurk below. You know what? Shout out to that write-up. That is a cool write-up.
Yeah, I was certainly like, that sounds cool.
Usually, game descriptions
I'm flicking through some screenshots, and there's some terrifying stuff. There's one where it's just the hallway, but it's like, it looks like tree roots coming through the walls, but the arms with hands, and it's like, ugh. I think we might need to stream this,
Yeah, that...
I think it's going to be terrifying. I think we need to do it.
Yeah, again, horror's great for streams. But yeah, Those Who Remain, it's one that showed up from Wired Productions a while ago. I think they confirmed it without realising, I think. And it was picked up by a couple of like Stadia Source and the guys over there. But yeah, Those Who Remain, the write-up's fantastic. The way it's written, it really kind of draws you into telling a good story. But the trailer, and as you said, some of the screenshots, it's, again, first-person horror, so what you kind of expect from Resident Evil, Biohazard, and Village. But it seems to be more of a slow-paced one, when a lot of the horror elements are going to come from that eerie, you don't know what's around the corner. something's going to jump out. The environment's going to be. I imagine the music is probably fantastic in terms of setting the scene for scaring the shit out of you.
How long to beat puts it in about 5.5 hours for the main story.
That's good. That's like two streams.
Yeah, maybe 2 streams.
Interesting. So yeah, plenty of horror then coming up on the Helix Cloud Games channel with Five Nights at Freddy's and then Those Who Remain. And I also actually want to get back to finish that last episode of World War Z Aftermath as well. So we might have to throw in a bonus stream at some point if we can arrange schedules around that. And again, kind of what you said about variety of pro games. You've got your bigger titles. I'd probably say this is one of those medium-sized ones. Not too long, but graphically it looks really good as well. Really alluring.
It's that cool title where if we go back to my analogy of like one big game and maybe 2 or 3 smaller games as pro. Your big game's going to be like, oh, this is the main game I'm going to play of next month, but I'm going to dabble in these other ones. It's very much, oh, this is cool and interesting, I'll dabble in it a bit.
Exactly. And that brings us on to the next game, one of them that I will definitely dabble in. It's probably worth a stream as well, which is what I love about Pro. You've got so much variety to pick from.
We're going down the list and going, yep, streaming that. And that's, which is, I'm glad, as a content creator, thank you, Sadie, for doing this.
And as a Pro subscriber, 6 titles is an awesome get. Again, they've never been... I was going to say greedy, but greedy's not part of that. They've never really been short with pro games. Like, remember when we only got 2 or 3, and then it slowly escalated to around Christmas when we got 7 or 8 one year. And you know what? Credit where credit's due. They've been really good with like giving us a good chunk of games every month. Like, we haven't had a month, realistically, where we've got 2 or 3. Like, albeit PlayStation Plus has got Crash Bandicoot 4 this month. But then
every
2 smaller titles.
Varied in terms of what the title is. So there's a good assumption that there'll be something in the pro titles list that you'll enjoy. Yeah,
definitely. I will still say it prevents me from buying lots of smaller games because you and me, as we know, for 145 weeks now, we have been conditioned to just anything that sits below the £20 mark. If you fancy it, just hang fire, and it will inevitably be on pro within 2 or 3 months, probably.
Or a sale.
That's worth it. Yeah, you're right with that one. But that's not the end of the pro games, because as I said, there's another game that I like to dabble in, and that is Worms WMD. The Worms are back in their most destructive game yet, with a gorgeous hand-drawn 2D look, brand new weapons, the introduction of crafting, vehicles, and buildings, plus the return of some much-loved classic weapons and gameplay. Worms WMD is the best Worms ever experience. Now, you've definitely played Worms before, Richie.
Oh, Worms Armageddon. That was the pinnacle. That was the pinnacle of gaming right there.
Incoming! So good.
Give me a concrete donkey.
Now, I used to play this with my brother all the time, and when you could make the teams, I always used to find it funny how the teams would be based on like celebrities. You'd have the Beatles were in there. Like famous 80s action movie stars and everything, and we used to make our own.
The Beatles have a Scouse accent as well.
Oh yeah, so we used to take like anything that we loved and put them in. So we used to do like the Lord of the Rings guys had their own teams. You'd have like Gimli, Aragorn and stuff, and just like little things. But the game, if anyone's never played a Worms game before, it's very, very straightforward. You get 2 teams, or probably some more than 2 teams actually in the newer versions. Actually, not all of them had multiple teams, but you could have like 4 teams at once. You all get scattered along a 2D map, and you have a collection, an assortment of weapons, and you just basically take turns to try and kill each other. But it's Worms, and there's things like granny grenades, and sheep that explode, and parachutes, and calling airstrikes, and it's so fun.
Right, I want people in the comments below to confess if they're the girder guy. The guy who just digs into the ground, puts loads of girders, and just hides.
Is there anything worse than being killed with either the drill from the top, so like someone drills a hole and doesn't intend to kill you, but they kill you anyway, or the slap, when you just slap them off into the wall. Prod, that was the one. Prod.
Prod is the worst because it's kind of like it's kind of the original when someone who's really good at Call of Duty will just do an entire map but only uses knife.
Yeah,
like
it's the equivalent.
The prod is the original.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just gonna prod you over the edge. I don't even need to pull out the baseball bat. I'm just gonna prod.
It's a good one. Yeah. So it's such a simple premise, but there's so much fun to be had. Yeah, so do I. Now I'm talking about it. I'm like thinking, It's
not in the comments. What do you want us to stream first? Because we're going for a list of games that we're going to stream here. So
it's so funny.
You can pick.
It's when it backfires as well, and you go to aim, but you only get a few seconds, I think, to use your actual weapon, and then if your timer runs out, it just blows up in your face and you kill yourself. Or a missile, not only you kill one of the enemy, but you knock 2 of your own off into the acid below or something, and it's just like, shit. yeah, Worms WMD available now to claim. Again, brand new to the platform, and it's free to claim as pro. So another win right there. Same as the next game, your 5th pro game of July, ladies and gentlemen, is Roguebook, which is one that I never heard of before. It was kind of leaked, or not leaked, it was announced by the developers last week, and then it went pro immediately. Embrace the challenge of a roguelike deck builder with unique mechanics from the developers of, I want to say Fire? Don't know. And Richard Garfield, creator of Magic the Gathering. Build a team of 2 heroes, unleash powerful combos, and defeat the legends of the Roguebook. So, very different type of game than what we're used to seeing. I'll probably throw it over to you, Richie. Have you played any card games, Magic the Gathering, anything like that?
I've played a bit of... My brother got into Magic the Gathering a bit, so as the younger sibling, you get into it a bit anyway. But it was never... I enjoyed it, but it was never my thing. I did play Steamworld Quest, which was a kind of like based like an action RPG based on like card games. So you get a deck, and then you'd use like certain like cards to do certain like attacks and specials and stuff. It's been a while since I played that game now, actually. But so these fun to be had here. It's rated well as well. I glanced over at the reviews on Steam because usually what I like about the reviews on Steam, you have recent and all. So you can kind of see where people are generally sitting on the game.
Yeah. Has it aged well as well? You get a good insight into that.
And it's very positive on both.
That's good to know. Yeah, I mean, visually it looks beautiful. The art style's like what you'd expect out of a game.
Very vibrant.
Yeah, very colourful. And I think it's something to do with the pacing of like the card games by nature. It's not something that I find as much enjoyment in because of the slow pace, make your decisions and such. Which it's kind of ironic because I love the city builder games. I like
turn-based stuff, so...
Yeah, you're a big Final Fantasy guy as well, though, aren't you? Like, my only JRPG kind of thing I've always said is kind of Pokemon, which is like kind of baby's first RPG. JRPG, it's not really that in-depth. But, I don't know, when it comes to playing video games, I just want something more frantic and engaging, I guess, to a degree.
Yeah.
But you know what? The weird thing is, I would probably play it and enjoy it, but as an adult gamer, I have to, as you know, I have to just be very selective over what I'm playing. And looking at this list of pro games, Roguebook, unfortunately, falls down to the bottom of my selection with this one.
It's not quite great at the bottom of my selection, but it is second for me.
Yeah, scratch that. There is another one we're yet to get to. So Roguebook, also available now. This must be a new developer as well, without thinking too much into it. I don't think these have ported the game to Stadia yet, from what I've seen.
It's Nacom, who's the publisher.
So
they've published quite a few things in Stadia. The developer is Abracam Entertainment SA.
Okay. So never heard of them.
It is only Feria and Roguebook that they seem to have. I'm looking at the Steam store again. Steam store is really useful for information for this sort of stuff. Surprisingly,
it is. Moving on then, Richie, our final pro game for the month of July. Your 6th pro title is none other than Fast and the Furious Spy Racers Rise of SH1FT3R, also known as Shifter, also known as the worst video game title in the last few years. It's finally arrived. I'm glad I didn't buy this one, Richie. I do recall when the game launched, there was a few frame issues it has, not due to latency, but to the actual game itself. I watched Lloyd from StadiaCast play it over there, on Nerdnest, I should say, as well. Play it, and I know he had a few issues with it on multiple devices. But if you are a Fast and the Furious fan, get ready, because get your spy gear ready and ride to victory in Fast and Furious Spy Racer Rise of Shifter. Your moment has come to join Tony Toretto, not quite Vin Diesel, I'm guessing his brother Tony, as a spy racer in a racing tournament across the world, from LA to the Sahara Desert and beyond. Take on the role of spy racer and battle the resurging criminal racing organisation Shifter. Now, it's just a kart race. I'm definitely going to check it out, because...
I'm not. I'm sure there's a fun game in there, but I don't like Fast and Furious. The title's straight out of the early 2000s, so it's about 20 years out of date. There's just nothing about what you've just said about this game that makes me inclined to play it. I mean, if people enjoy it, great. It's just not for me.
Well, you're going to be forced
in fact, honestly, I'm going to be honest here. I think the Fast and Furious title to the title makes it me less likely to play it, because I really don't like
So
Fast
if it was
and
just
Furious.
called Spy Racers Rise of Shifter, spelled correctly,
I still think it's still a stupid title, but the title would be better, actually, because there's less elements to it. But
It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say again, this is one of the family-oriented titles that we get from Outright Games. So it's definitely aimed at a younger audience, but also an audience that likes racing. I know it's like a racer game, but again, we'll get caught up on that one. Yeah, Fast and the Furious. I haven't watched the last Fast and the Furious movie, actually. I didn't go to the cinema. I've slowly but surely kind of fell off of them. Like, I used to love them as growing up and wanting to drive and, like, trying to dress like they did in the show. I remember, I think I bought, like, a plain white t-shirt for, like, a full summer because that's what Brian wore on Too Fast, Too Furious or something. I
think I enjoyed 1 and 2 as a teenager, but then I'm not a car guy. So, like...
You're not.
Oh, Mike, I've got a very nice car. Like, good on you.
Good on you. But with Fast and the Furious, it does say from LA to the Sahara Desert is your take on racing tournaments across the world, Richie. So that hopefully one of the countries that they visit as they're travelling around this beautiful planet that we live on is to Mexico, because our next star of the week, Google Stadia, for the first time in a long time, is doing expansion to a new territory, a new country, folks. It's happening. It's here. Welcome, bienvenidos to our Mexican gamers out there who are hopefully going to join us soon. They haven't given a date when it's going to go live, but I'm reading from the community blog, one of 3 blogs we got this week actually. As revealed moments ago within the Google for Mexico live stream event, later this year we'll be expanding support for Stadia to include Mexico, making it our 23rd officially supported country. Players with a supported connection will be able to try gaming for the first time or dive into their favourite titles on the compatible devices they already own. That includes a library of more than 250 games, 70 click-to-play trials, and more exciting titles launching this year on the Stadia store. We'll keep you updated with more information about our planned rollout for Mexico later this year. So it looks as though by the end of 2022, we'll have some Mexican gamers joining us.
You know what? There's not really much more you can say about this, apart from this is fantastic for everyone who uses Stadia. It's another country. I know I've seen a lot of people on Twitter ask about... The 2 places that seem to be mainly get asked about is Stadia coming in, Mexico and Brazil.
Yeah. I see
so
India quite a lot as well.
India. We're progressing towards Brazil, but Mexico is one of them big countries, lots of gamers, hungry to get their hands on the latest and greatest.
No, Hungary's
Stadia
in
can
Europe.
provide. Stadia can provide that, and the more people buying games on Stadia means the more likely Google are going to spend money bringing games over. So it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win for everyone.
All the wins, indeed.
Yeah, all the wins.
It kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like we had rumblings of it a few months back, and then, as per usual, nothing seemed to happen or come out of it. It does bode the question with cloud gaming. Because within the same article of the community blog, it actually also highlights the Samsung 2022 Smart TV Gaming Hub initiative that we actually covered on last week's show as well, saying it was really good to see Samsung promoting Stadia, GeForce Now, Xbox Cloud Gaming as well. And the more devices that have these platforms on them, the more marketing there is. So I do wonder if their strategic partners are also expanding into... Like, if this Samsung TV is available in Mexico... By proxy, they must go to Google and go, does it work over there? And there has to be business conversations that say no, but part of our contract agreement. Like, I'm interested to see what finally pushed this ball over the line when it came to actually getting the rollout. It
might have just been Google's infrastructure, making sure they've got the service set up in the country, get Stadia service specifically set up in the country. It might just been it took a long time to get there. Mm-hmm. My thing with the Samsung Gaming Hub, though, is that I think TV developers in general need to do a better job of supporting older models, because the Gaming Hub's only available from the 22 model onwards. So if you bought a TV last year, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but you won't be able to get the Gaming Hub for, at least at the moment, and it just feels like an arbitrary decision. I find it weird when TV companies bring out new TVs every year. Like,
It's the trend, isn't it? Like, you want that big... It's because everything centres around like a keynote event now. And I think if you're not in the race, or if you don't appear to be in the race, you lose traction, you lose market share in optics. So it's like, if you don't have an annual it's the same with mobile phones as well. If you don't have like an annual iteration to put out, you miss out on that like contract cycle and people buying it and marketing, and you lose space on the shop floor, and then it has a knock-on effect.
In some ways, it is good for consumers, because it means like models that are like more like 2 or 3 years old that are basically now surplus and not like you your average tech shop doesn't want to put them on the shop floor, often we'll just sell them off on the cheap.
Yeah.
Because they just want to they don't want them taking up warehouse space, so you can actually be smart as a consumer and get a TV that's maybe 2 years old, but just as good. But might not be supported in certain things.
Yeah, as you said, it pushes kind of innovation a little bit, and it kind of creates healthy competition, I would say, in amongst it all. Yeah. Which is great to see. The announcement happened. It was part of the Google for Mexico live stream. It was about an hour or so of them talking about like cloud infrastructure, all the other things Google are doing for the business, rolling out kind of better language support for Google Translate Assistant, and all the kind of usual stuff we see in our own keynotes, but a bit more specific to Mexico. And sandwiched in there around about I'm just trying to come up with now, it's about the 43-minute mark. They go on to talk about the 72 million gamers across in Mexico actively playing, and then they go on to talk about like Google Stadia. They actually show the logo, Richie, on stage at the stage presentation.
Oh, that's something I actually wanted to bring up. Google have acknowledged Stadia again. It's been a while.
Yeah, there's actually a guy stood on stage with the background. I'll try and clip it out and put it in if I can find it. And then it shows like a couple of the games. It shows Sekiro. It shows golf with. It says PGA Tour, Formula 1. 200 titles available. It shows a couple of videos. So it's got Valhalla, Cyberpunk Village, Hitman 3, Baldur's Gate. So it's picking some big titles to put front and center. And it's...
I mean, I should clarify my point there. I know Google do occasionally make reference to Stadia, but over the last year, it's been largely as an example of immersive stream working rather than as a platform into its own right. Mm-hmm. And that was my worry for a while. Still is a bit that Google sees Stadia as just like an advertising piece for immersive stream.
Yeah. But hopefully then, this is the sign of things to come. And we not only get more countries, more places to expand.
I'm optimistic.
Into. You're optimistic?
I know, it's weird because this is a big move that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They've acknowledged Stadia in its own right. It's coming to another country. These are the sort of moves that we've been craving for.
Yeah. If you
like Google making moves with the platform.
If you were to pick somewhere next, then do you think Brazil's the next natural place from Mexico? Just follow the map.
Brazil or India.
Yeah, because we've said a few times with Google's presence in India being so strong, and Apple doesn't really have the same grasp over it in terms of like mobile market share and cloud and stuff. It's surprising that it hasn't already rolled out there, especially the sheer population. Surely, when you're looking at the statistics, you want to go somewhere where one, the accessibility to games consoles, full stop, is low, but the population is high. That's your biggest return on investment you're going to get. So somewhere like Brazil, where consoles are ridiculously outpriced and expensive and hard to get hold of, but the population is huge, the only kind of third factor is if the internet infrastructure is good enough.
Yeah. But again, I think internet infrastructure, sometimes it might be lagging. It might lag behind a bit. But the more services like Stadia come, the more demand there is for better infrastructure, the more pressure that's put onto ISPs to up the game.
Yeah, certainly.
I think so. I've had this view of cloud gaming since like 2.5 years ago now, where I know people say, like, especially in America with data caps. I think data cap things like Google Stadia, GeForce Now, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and PlayStation getting involved. These are the sort of things where consumers will start getting into these things and then put pressure on their ISPs to get rid of data caps.
Mm-hmm.
Or increase speeds, or increase the quality of the hardware they send to customers, because otherwise they'll just get loads of complaints.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong. Again, back to what we said about the TVs, it breeds innovation. It forces them to be more competitive and by proxy consumer friendly. You would hope. So yeah, country expansion, great news. I do think it's a good sign. I do hope with the rollout they market and promote it a little bit better than they have done to certain places in Europe. So we know from like getting your hands on a Premier Edition, which is no longer a thing in the Stadia store, but we've got friends in our Discord group who said to order not even just Stadia, but things like the Google Pixel and stuff, they've had to import them from other countries. And I think we've said before, you couldn't actually buy a Stadia pack in like Romania and some of the other EU countries that got rolled out too. So I hope it works better, it lands better on this one.
Yeah, I don't think that the weird not being able to buy certain hardware in some countries in the EU, I think that's a weird Google general distribution thing rather than Stadia specific. But I think they do need to go hard with this market in Mexico. And I think, you know what, I think bringing out alongside a new AAA title to entice people into it. I'm thinking Saints Row at the moment. That could be a good move. Saints Row on billboards with the Stadia logo.
Yeah, that'd be great. But
You know what, stick a massive QR code on so people can just scan it on their phones and just jump straight in for a free, like an hour free trial.
Get testing. Because
I'm available to hire Google.
It is an interesting one when it comes to kind of availability and requirements, because I still, to this day, don't feel like we hear that. I mean, again, we live kind of in a vacuum anyway, because all of our socials, it's like following certain Stadia, like content creators and fans and pages, but I always check on the Stadia, like any post that like Stadia official tweets out or posts out on Facebook and stuff. And you said about people saying about India, Mexico was one of them, Brazil is another country. But the countries that kind of it got expanded to in the first big rollout, when they added in like Czechia, Slovakia, Romania, Hungary, I still to this day, bless you, off mic.
Sorry, yeah, just a cough.
Sneezing, not coughing. I don't feel like we see any gamers from those people. Like, I know people play them without going on social media. I get that. There's gamers out there who don't check it like we do. But considering we've been doing this podcast for 145 weeks, and there's other content creators who do way more, does anyone genuinely know anyone who plays in Czechia, Slovakia, Romania, Hungary? Because I've not seen one person in a tweet, a Facebook post.
Well, I've not even seen anything in the analytics for any of our shows. Like,
that's a good point.
Nothing, because we can see. We can't see, Mr. Smith, where you live, but we can see someone from your country has watched our show.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen a spike or anything in these countries.
Because again, you look out there, and naturally there are content creators who represent kind of Germany, France, Spain. Like there is entire Twitter accounts and stuff with like thousands of followers, and they're making amazing content. And I just feel like these countries had a rollout, like Switzerland, Sweden. Like I know there's a couple of you, but just is it rolling out, or is it talked about as much? Because I don't know. I'm just really curious. Like when we see it roll out to Mexico, are we going to see a massive influx of new people, new gamers, new content creators? Or how's the rollout going to go? So it's got me very curious about how it's handled. Because like I said, if you can't buy a controller in your respective country, you have to import it, then you're currently left with just using the tech you've already got, which I know is Stadia's goal. But I don't know about you and me, but the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted my new shiny controller. I wanted to test it out on a Chromecast on a TV.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. That's what I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners did. I'm just really curious to just know where they are. So let us know if you are from one of those countries mentioned, or if you're from Mexico. Welcome. Happy gaming, Richie.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. But you know what? If it doesn't happen now, they might have 50 years to get it sorted, because celebrating Atari's 50th anniversary, the next star of the week, we had some more games announced off the back of Atari, and they also confirmed that they're going to be bringing more of them to Google Stadia, thanks to another blog post this week, weirdly enough. I feel like we've been spoilt this week, Richie. We have weeks of silence, it feels, and then it's like a bus or a coach. They all come along at once. Starting off then, we'll go with one of the newer titles they announced was Combinera. So, formidable puzzles, precise navigation, balls, simultaneous control, special abilities, and a fallen king. Control multiple coloured balls simultaneously in this brain-bending, puzzling platformer. It's up to you to combine every ball and complete every perilous level. Can you solve them? Can you save King Combine from the Cave of Chaos? Cave spelled with a K, confused me a bit there. New game from Atari. They want to seemingly get back into the video game world. They're going to lean on their classics library a little bit. This is the one coming in fall/autumn 2022, so probably not too long to wait as the year is trickling away, from Graphic Lab developers, published by Atari. What do you think of this one, Richie, at first glance?
It looks cool. I don't really have much more to say. I'd not actually heard of it, or at least I can't recall ever hearing of it before now. So, I mean, if you have played it in the past, let us know in the comments. It looks cool.
See, this one is new. This isn't Combinera.
Oh, is it actually?
Yeah, it's not a remake one, because all of the old ones that they've titled as Recharged. This is Atari actually doing a new game.
All right.
So
it looks like a traditional Atari game from back in the day. So maybe that's their thing. Maybe that's what they're doing when they get back as they're coming back in the gaming industry, we're just going to go back. We're not going to try and make modern style games. We're going to make the style games that we did when we were the top of the gaming industry, and we're just going to do that again. Because now I think there's space for that. I think there is space for that. You look how indies have taken off over the last 15 years.
Yeah, completely right.
So Atari could just say, yeah, you know what, we're doing that again.
Yeah, there's definitely
great on them.
Definitely space for it, Richie. Just like the other title they also announced, Asteroids Recharged is coming. Everyone's played Asteroids at some point, I'm sure, or a version of it at least. The original space shooter warps to the modern era. Asteroids Recharged has been reimagined for modern gameplay with vibrant visuals and powerful new abilities. An entirely new collection of power-ups, including spread shots, railguns, reflector shields, and more, will help stave off splintering asteroids and aggressive UFOs. Co-op play lets you play with a friend and ramps up the intensity as players do their best to coordinate and survive. Asteroids is one of those fun arcade ones that I enjoy playing. You never play it for very long, but it's fun.
Can I just point out the art style in these games as well? I think it's fantastic. It's kind of got that like old like arcade early late 70s, early 80s line art with a nice neon kick to it, and actually quite beautiful backgrounds as well.
Yeah.
It does look like exactly how I would want a modern version of Asteroids to look.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's got it really draws you in. Like kind of like all movie posters for the last 10 years have gone back and made like the same the group shots and stuff of all like the heroes and characters like the old Star Wars posters used to have. But
it's very familiar looking. It does look like it could have been on an arcade cabinet back in the day. I wonder if this is what the guys back who were making the arcade cabinets would have loved it to be, but technical limitations, and often these games were in black and white.
So all of the technical limitations is it was basically a couple of squares and shapes and a triangle. Bear in mind, it looks like the original, of course, looked like a paper plane, just folded up.
Again, I like the fact they've kept the triangle.
Yeah,
they could have redesigned the ship, but nope, it's a triangle. This is Asteroids. You're playing as a triangle.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's like different modes or skins or something to unlock as you go through it.
Possibly, yeah.
But this one, another title coming in fall/autumn 2022. Looking forward to that. We did report on it last week, but this was another confirmed one. Black Widow Recharged as well, so this is another one coming summer 2022. The original cult classic Arachnid starring twin stick shooter returns just in time for Halloween. Black Widow Recharged has been reimagined with modern gameplay, vibrant visuals and powerful new abilities. That seems to be a trend. Collect cash from downed enemies to charge a powerful web blast. Pick up one of the dozen new power-ups, including explosive blasts, spread shots, and fear, trapping enemies into your web. Every mode and every level is playable in local co-op with a friend. So, again, a lot of these games are very similar. You can almost imagine back in the day when they rolled them out, it was like, can we just take the asteroid triangle, make it into a spider, repeat. Take that, repeat, because like you said, in arcades, it was just more about aesthetics than it was gameplay.
I now wonder how many of these games have I actually played, because I feel like I've played most of them, but I wonder if I've just played crappy knockoffs of them all, like the 9,999 games in one sort of collection.
Wouldn't be surprised, yeah. Like, how do you get around copyright when your feature protagonist is a triangle?
I don't think there was any real copyright protection back then.
Well, a lot, yeah. Games. Well, I mean, realistically,
it was such an emerging industry. It's like,
all the arcade cabinets, they were kind of took and modded themselves, weren't they, by people who knew what they were doing. That's how a lot of video game developers started off back in the day. They made money whilst in college because they would take the motherboard chip out, tweak it, create new levels, and go from there. There's a great Netflix series.
This feels like Atari just acknowledging, you know what, we are Atari, this is what we do, let's just do it the best we can.
Keep doing it.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. And also coming to Stadia, so another one to watch out for on the pipeline. In time for Halloween, so it does give us some kind of scope for when, so I'd say October at the latest, sorry.
Might be one a month.
Well, I did see some people on social media saying, would all these be coming, but are they staggering them so we can get them as pro games? So it's like, every month there's one. It's like, you know what, as long as it's mixed in with the other great selection we usually get, I'm cool with that. Another one then, Breakout Recharged, is also coming late 2022. The original Brick Breaker returns with its toughest challenge yet. Breakout Recharged steps up the excitement with a fresh coat of paint and exciting new power-ups. The endless arcade mode, 50 challenging levels, will push you to your limit and your skills. Don't fret, however, as this wouldn't be a recharge title without game-changing power-ups, railguns, homing missiles, and explosives to join the traditional multi-ball style gameplay. You'll need every tool in your arsenal and razor-sharp reflexes to climb the global leaderboards. Breakout Recharged, coming late 2022. So it seems like we're getting... we've got one pro game this month, then we've got summer, autumn...
There's 5 more months, 5 more lots of pro games to come, and there's 5 games.
Yeah. Great stuff. So, nice little arcade, recharge, refresh ones coming across the rest of the year. That'll add to your list of 100 titles coming to Stadia this year. And moving on to the next story of the week, Richie, what I'm hoping for is some more titles from our good friends Ubisoft, because we've said on a few shows now that they're kind of been a bit quiet of recent, and that's surely about to change with the rumoured Skull and Bones been dated for November, supposedly November 8th, if I recall. But this week, they've actually announced that they will be appearing at Gamescom. So, not a Ubisoft forward, they're actually going to be at Gamescom, which is August 24th to the 28th, across a few days in Germany. And we said before, Sony pulled out last week. We discussed it on Talking the PS. And it looks like Ubisoft are kind of going to fill that gap of representing. And it looks like they might just go all in.
This could be a great move from Ubisoft. Like, instead of jumping in at Summer Games Fest last month, was it last month or the month before?
Yeah, last month.
Instead of jumping in at Summer Games Fest, let's the other people just have that. We'll come to Gamescom. Everyone else now showing their hand, and we don't have anything else to show, so we won't do it. Now Ubisoft have got the stage to themselves almost.
It seems
so
to be.
They've got, in terms of press coverage, it's a Ubisoft show.
Yeah.
Like.
And again, the reason that's great for Stadia is because mostly the titles do come across. We probably due an update on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Part of me genuinely thinks we'll probably hear about something to do with Far Cry, because, like, remember, they usually put out a Far Cry numbered entry, and then we get, like, a spin-off reskin. I'm like, again, apologies, viewers, I haven't done the math, but I'm very curious to know how short after Far Cry 5 New Dawn came out, how far Primal came out after 4, because in my mind, I don't think it was like that much more than 1 year. So we're probably due.
I'm worried that the reconfiguring of Far Cry will be going forward to be more of an online game full of like, all the stuff Ubisoft are very keen to put in, full of more microtransactions, NFTs, all that sort of stuff. This persistent online, it games as a service. That's the way I was looking for. I'd be worried that they're trying to reconfigure Far Cry into that, and that might be why they went quiet.
Yeah, possibly. But
I hope I'm wrong. Please be wrong.
But I'm pretty sure, like, Division Heartlands was supposed to be out this summer, and we've heard nothing on that since the announcement. We've not heard anything on X-Defiant in a long time, even though the game looks
Beyond Good and
terrible.
Evil 2, we haven't heard of anything for that in a while, and I really think they need to.
Yeah, it's almost like they're ready to burst, Ubisoft, with, like, actual announcements. Like, they've surprisingly kept it quiet.
We've had an update on Prince of Persia recently where basically we got told it's not coming anytime soon.
Yeah, that's gone. That's off the table.
And obviously, the big one I think will be Skull and Bones. I think that will be the tentpole thing that they're pushing this time.
Yeah, that's a shoe-in. Of course, they did tell us to come back in September for an update on the Assassin's Creed franchise. So August may seem a little bit early for Assassin's Creed, but it wouldn't be surprised if we got a tease maybe at Gamescom.
Well, if they're gonna talk about Assassin's Creed in September, Gamescom is literally the end of August, so maybe they're just going to do a forward focused around Assassin's Creed, and they just wanted to go, you know what? Rather than trying to hammer everything into Gamescom, we'll just Assassin's Creed is big enough to carry it forward on its own.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe there's more details about Valhalla, like DLC, probably even like Infinity.
I think it'll be Infinity. Yeah, they did mention that it'll be the last tale for Eivor within Valhalla. So there's that one. Obviously, they teased Splinter Cell last year. I think that game is a good few years out yet, so I wouldn't expect anything from that yet. We've got the Rabbids Mario title, Sparks of Hope, I want to say, but that's a Switch exclusive, so that's not what we know what the Rabbids are up to. We haven't had anything.
That could be at Gamescom.
Yeah,
that could be reasonably at Gamescom.
We haven't had anything from Rayman in a good 10 years. It feels like Rayman Legends was, I think, the last one, so he's due another title. And then, of course, they've got their indie games, and I'd love to think, Richie, they're working on something new. Like give
me a second Child's Delight. Give me a sequel to that.
Not Tom Clancy. But while we are on the same train of thought when talking about Ubisoft, we did have a new Ubisoft game launch on Stadia this very week. Speaking of those pesky Rabbids, Richie, Party of Legends has launched on Google Stadia. You can pick it up now for about $34.99. We covered it a few weeks back when I think it was ESRB rated, actually. This game's been out in China for quite some time, so it's almost been repackaged and put out there. Embark on the legendary journey with the Rabbids in this hilarious party game. Join them in an incredible quest filled with hilarious moments and colourful characters. Gather up with friends and family and enjoy a multitude of ridiculously fun mini-games in the most epic Rabbids party yet. Multiplayer mayhem, 4 players locally, team up and face across 50 fun mini-games, custom playlists of your favourite games. Anyone can get in the action with intuitive controls and discover a legendary story filled with colourful characters across 4 chapters. It seems to tell a story of ancient China to some degree, which is why I think it was released in China beforehand. Yeah. And then brought across, but it strikes me as like Mario Party, Crash Bash, like those type of like compendium games.
Cake Bash,
yeah, just loads of little daft mini games with Rabbids, whether you love them or you hate them. It's available now on Stadia.
I think probably when Skull and Bones comes out, maybe we need to both jump into Ubisoft Plus. And then we'll have a month of Ubisoft streams, and this could be one of them.
Yeah, I would definitely play this with the community, but I am paying £35 for.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want to buy this game, but I'm thinking when Skull and Bones comes out, that's a stream in there. We've got Rabbids. We could jump into some other stuff. Riders Republic. There's 3 weeks straight off the bat.
Certainly is. Moving on though, one game in particular doesn't look like we're playing, Richie, is Super Bomberman R2. Which got an official announcement this past week. Unfortunately, no Stadia in sight, which is a bit of a shame, considering that we had Super Bomberman R. Was Super Bomberman R Stadia exclusive initially? I can't remember.
Yes.
I thought so. Because, we played it. We played a great bit of fun to be had.
And I wonder if that soured things a bit, because while that game was really fun, there's a lot of people playing at launch, I think it died a death.
There was no crossplay because it was on Stadia exclusive. But again, it's one of them frustrating signs of a sequel to a title coming that we haven't got. And if I recall as well, Super Bomberman R, they announced a few weeks ago that they're shutting the servers down for that game. And then they said keep tuned for more Super Bomberman news, which evidently it looks like they're literally just doing a swap and switch. Get rid of the old one and popping a new one
Makes sense.
With new modes. It's like they've said there's like castle mode in it where you fight to defend a castle at the same time. It's almost like a battle royale with 64 players. The Bomberman brothers are back, but yeah, PS5, PS4, Series X, One, Steam, no Switch, funnily enough, but coming in 2023. New content, new characters.
I always, in my mind, Bomberman is a Nintendo title.
Yeah, I thought the same. I think we actually had that when Bomberman.
They use Switch.
Oh, I'm just looking. Sorry, yeah, you're right. It's on there. It's in. Yeah. It's not in black.
It's red.
Yeah, that's the graphic design for it. Yeah, there it is at the end, folks, watching along on YouTube.
It should jump out because it's not in black like all the rest of the logos, but it didn't. It looks like you know what? Your mind's probably just assumed that's a Konami logo or something. Just moves straight.
Yeah, I think I just thought it was like some kind of seal of quality or like some ESRB like age rating or something because it's so small on there. But yeah, it is coming to Nintendo Switch. I take it back. Yeah. Moving on to just a few wrap-up stories for the week. Some nice little ones here, Richie. Human Fall Flat. Teasing over on Twitter. All they've done now is put a little picture of one of their little Play-Doh men. The Pillsbury Doughboy, the home bake guy. Take your own little Play-Doh man of choice. It's a silhouette of that guy. It says, launch date coming soon with some alert emojis. And the reason I mention it is obviously much loved on Google Stadia, but when we did an episode of SideQuest back in the day covering the top games on Stadia, we both got a shock of how popular Human Fall Flat is. It was kind of, what was it, like the 12th best-selling game of all time?
It was top 10.
That's crazy. I still don't believe that. We did see that was like a massive spike to like roll out across China and stuff as well. And I think Twitch streamers picked up on it. But yeah, Human Fall Flat. They've not done anything for a while. They've done a couple of bits of DLC and such. But interested to see what the team over there are doing and at No Break Games to make it, I guess, something new. Any theories? What would you want to see, Richie, from a Human Fall Flat sequel or expansion?
I think it's a sequel. It's the game's been out. Although, I think I'm going to go with expansion because they've got such a large install base. A sequel might not do as well. I think a sequel's more risky when you could actually, effectively, we're just going to bring out a sequel, but instead of bringing out a Human Fall Flat 2, we're just going to launch it as DLC for Human Fall Flat,
like a season pass.
Yeah, we're just going to bring it into the game. Just why, if you got such a huge install base, like I don't think it's going to a game that's going to need like a massive engine overhaul or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So just put your plans for the sequel into the original game as just as an expansion, as a season pass, as DLC, however you want to do it. So I think
interesting stuff. Yeah, we had a good bit of fun with Human Fall Flat.
It's a fun game.
It is a fun game. Very simple. It's simple to play, difficult to master.
Frustrating.
Yes. The fun is in the frustration. So yeah, I thought keep an eye out for that one. Very interesting stuff. And then a couple of last little minute ones. Stadia, reading from Stadia Dosage, they've added some more game trials. They've added 35 additional game trials onto the ones that they already had, which brings the total up to 75 free game trials, Richie. Now available on Stadia.
I think they're aiming for the entire library.
Yeah. I think, again, once it's running on the platform, it's just a case of putting a time limitation on it, right?
Yeah, and it's not locked behind. It's not locked behind. You don't even need an account to jump in. You need nothing. You can just go click. I'm in.
Yeah.
This is where they need to be a bit more savvy with, like, I think with marketing. Like, I keep going back to QR codes because I think a QR code on a billboard is something that people can just, as they're out in the business, just scan it and then I'm in. I'll try it out and go, would you, after an hour or half hour or 2 hours, however long the trial is, go, would you like to open an account? You'll get Stadia, 1 free month Stadia Pro, which includes this game.
This, yeah.
And I go, yeah, I'll do that. I'm enjoying this game. I get to continue playing it for nothing. All I need is a Gmail account. I have one of them because I exist now, so.
Everyone who doesn't have a Gmail account.
And then you're getting people into the ecosystem, and that's one of the biggest problems. They need to find ways to get people into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We always go on about AAAs. AAAs are the best way, I think, to get people in the ecosystem. Show people what's coming and show that you are getting the best and shiniest, newest games. Mm-hmm. But there is other ways, and I think they just need to exploit every avenue they can. Yeah,
completely. The more the better, more the merrier, as they say. More free games, more opportunities, more audiences that they might potentially pull in. They do need to figure out a way to get it to work on Chromecast and stuff, because I don't think the free game trials work outside of desktop at the moment.
Really?
I saw someone on Twitter saying, because it doesn't work on Chromecast, because there's no way of really getting to the trial part.
I'm not going to test Chromecast now, but I will quickly check on my phone.
I think it does work on phone now. I said it out loud. It might just be Chromecast. I saw someone tweet.
I need to pick a game.
You pick a game while I'll keep talking about the list of free game trials. The new ones added 14 games additional to the list. Adam Wolf, Ari and the Secret of the Seasons, Blue Fire, City Legends, The Curse of the Crimson Shadow, Chris Tales, Jotun Valhalla Edition, Lost Words Beyond the Page, My Little Pony, and Maritime Bay Adventure, which actually has just arrived last week. Murder by Numbers, Outriders, World Slayer, which is just Outriders still, Rock of Ages 3, Make and Break, terrible game, Spiritfarer Farewell Edition, Sundered Eldridge Edition, and Tohu as well. So a lot of the little indie title lists that are probably a year or so old.
So there's no trial button there for me on Chris Tales.
So I might have been right. Oh well.
Yeah.
So that little things like that, like if you want to do a free trial, if it's limited to one particular version of Stadia, then it's limiting. You've got 75 games, in fact, you want people to try, and the most popular device they probably own, you can't do it on.
It goes back to Stadia. You need to be uniform with the experience across all the ways you can interact with it. Whether it's phone piece through a Chrome browser or through a Chromecast, you should be able to do everything you can on each of them.
Yeah, you certainly should be. And that, Richie, brings us to our last story of the week, which is a nice little positive one to it. I mean, the news this week's been positive overall. It's been fantastic.
I know, I've enjoyed it.
Pro games.
It's nice to have good positive news coming out of Stadia for a change.
It is.
And you know what? We may have completed an episode without any real speculation.
Well, let's speculate on something right now then. No, I can't be bothered. Anyway, final one is a review from PCWorld.com, and it's a random review. Don't know where this came from, of Google Stadia. So this is a tech company.
The only thing I can think of is it's been on their dock to cover, and like other things just keep getting in the way that are more timely, and they've got an empty week. Well, just push the Stadia story.
Got to keep going with it. But yes, reading from the article, and I'll keep it brief on it, but essentially they broke it down into the expert rating from PC World. Editor's choice as well is a 4.5 star review for Google Stadia out of 5. The pros: ease of access to the whole platform, 4K display support that genuinely works, some fair deep game discounts for Stadia Pro members. The cons: the free games library with Stadia Pro is somewhat lackluster, and the game library as a whole is a bit behind the mainstream. Our verdict in total: Google Stadia offers a wide array of titles to choose from, and its easy-to-use interface makes it for an enjoyable cloud gaming experience. Overall, this is one of the best cloud gaming platforms available, especially if you opt for the Pro subscription. Obviously, feel free to read the whole article. It's available on PCWorld.com now, where it breaks it down into like each part: interface, game library, ease of use, performance, all that kind of stuff. And we know quite well from everything we've done on this show is that, yeah, Stadia works. You just kind of need a fresh set of eyes, and I think it's quite refreshing reading this one and having someone who's, I don't know whether they're not a gamer or who knows.
It's nice to read an article that's generally positive and not from someone who seems to have a vendetta against Google and is not like us, who've got probably about 2.5 years of becoming a bit jaded with Stadia of, oh, cool title coming, oh, it's not coming. So I'm guessing that author hasn't had that same, because we cover it every single week. Mm-hmm. So we're constantly going, oh, will Elden Ring come? No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Will this game come? No, it didn't. And that's probably the main source of my pessimism at times. Where if I hadn't touched Stadia and came in as completely fresh, I'd probably rate it exactly the same as this.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like you read through the article, there's some little bits about quirks that you notice. When you launch your game in full screen mode in your desktop, it locks your cursor to that monitor if you've got multiple displays. That's just something you and me put up with on a weekly basis when you're doing a live stream, because you can't.
It's a mild annoyance. I do wish they would fix it. PlayStation, you don't have that thing. It is nice when you got multiple monitors to just be able to click around, especially if you're streaming.
Yeah. And he goes on to say about things like a bit of freeze up and no message to tell you what's happening exactly, but I think that's just the nature of what it is. But overall, tested it on different, decent internet speeds as well, different variations. And yeah, overall, positive line. It can provide the cloud gaming console experience without the need of buying expensive hardware. It can look even better with a Pro subscription. You still have to buy most of your games, but if you're coming as your primary gaming console, that's not a bad way to go about it. So, good story, Richie. Happy reading. No speculation in sight. But that, folks, brings us to an end for episode number 145 of your weekly Stadia and Video Game Show, where we round up everything for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. We've got a busy week ahead of us. We're about to go away and record CloudQuest, Richie, episode 74. Can you remind the people what we're talking about on this week's show?
Oh, we're going to speculate heavy on CloudQuest about Tencent.
Tencent, that's right. They're crossing the boundaries into cloud gaming. They've partnered with Nvidia. For better or for worse, we'll go talk about all that. Remember, if you are a Helix Hero, or if you want to support the channel a little bit more, you can join our membership program from as little as 99 pence, just like over 50 of you do. We appreciate you, all you Helix Heroes out there, for everything you do and give to us. It helps us bring you better quality content and new shows, just like Richie, CloudQuest.
Talking the PS, and I also hear that becoming a Helix Hero makes you slightly more attractive.
Oh, that's good to know. So there you go, another perk you didn't even realise. Yes, talking the PS.
Your mileage may vary.
Our PlayStation Weekly podcast is episode 3. Will be going up this Tuesday. Thank you for everyone who's checked that out so far. Again, still getting it off the ground, finding our feet, getting our audience and stuff with that. So we do appreciate anyone who checks that one out. It's just another hour of our slightly more attractive faces of Brownie Richie watching along for your viewing pleasure. We will have a live stream later this week playing one of the pro games. We'll decide, or do let us know in the comments below if you'd like to throw your hat in the ring. I'll suggest what you'd like to see us playing this week. Keep it locked to our Twitter account, social media, Facebook, everything like that, at Helix Cloud Games. You can find us over there. Instagram as well, and Facebook. You can find me at CyberChris2077. You can find Richie
at RichieC89, which, you know, every time when throughout our Wreckfest stream I went, oh yeah, make sure you add me on Stadia so it's easier. I invite you to the game. I kept saying at RichieC89, not just RichieC89.
It's that gamer tag. Well, what would we have used for the at symbol if it wasn't on our keyboards? Be interesting alternate reality. But that's all we've got time for. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
Not at Richie.
I've been at Richie.
We've been Helix Cloud Games, folks, bringing you the Sounds of Stadia podcast. And remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.